If you give me 2 minutes, I'll give you hope that may be more hope than you've ever gotten outside of prayer. Do you think it's possible that something that could provide relief for brain injuries would be hidden in plain sight? Because there is no actual therapy that has been successful for dealing with a brain injury other than time. Is that possible? Is it possible that it's been hidden in plain sight? Is it possible that it's been around since the beginning of time? I think that it's all very possible. In 2014, after just being bothered by the amount of suicide that was occurring in the United States and reading about it through the media, and then understanding that there were some 20 of our veteran soldiers coming back from the war that were committing suicide, I decided to get involved. And finding something that could potentially help someone that's suicidal based on what we have been dealt with or taught about our whole lives just didn't exist. And so I came across a group that had been focused on a treatment or therapy. And I went to a medical conference. Now, I can assure you I was the only engineer in the medical conference, and there were some amazing doctors that had been working with brain injuries for decades. And so I started to look into it. And I will tell you that if you made it through high school and you took biology, chances are you can grasp the studies, the peer-reviewed clinical trials that are, as I said, overwhelming, enormous. And so their success was very clear. And I didn't just trust the science. I started reading the research, and I wanted to understand. And I learned a lot about this inflammatory condition that is caused by so many different impacts or effects that occur on the brain. And so traumatic brain injury, clearly that impact, you can imagine, like a concussion, would cause inflammation. And this forms the basis of why I'm here. And so I'm here to talk about a therapy called hyperbaric oxygen. It is something that has been around since the beginning of life. It is an atmosphere and it is oxygen, or an increase in atmosphere because it's hyper. And so hyperbaric oxygen, as has been discovered for a few decades now, is amazing in healing the brain. So one thing that's important, I think, for you to see in this segment is for you to hear from some soldiers. And we have a very special guest. We have a sergeant major from the Marine Corps that went on many combat missions and was dealing with very serious brain injuries and received hyperbaric oxygen treatments. And as a result, his life, as he'll tell you, and I want you to listen to his story and the story from his family, because this story is being repeated across the country. And this is where hope comes into a much more broad topic, is hyperbaric oxygen. If you look at the research, has been studied for almost every indication or condition. Indication would be the medical term, but conditions, injuries, and the results are always positive. And so stick with me, and we're going to take you down this path, and it's going to open your eyes, and I believe it's going to give you more hope than you've ever had about the future and about how we can heal our bodies, our brains. Maybe this, in fact, is the solution to much of the suicide rate. Maybe this, in fact, is a path forward for the most powerful anti-inflammatory being applied to many other conditions as well. Next, you'll be introduced to the state-of-the-art hyperbaric oxygen clinic where the soldiers are being treated. I don't really like to call it a clinic. I prefer it to be a spa because that's the environment you feel when you're in there. So we call it a clinic. I think it's more like a spa. One of the things that I find in the clinic is the staff of the clinic absolutely love what they do because they're truly healing people, and they witness it on a daily basis.
Welcome to Exhibita. I'm Elena, I'm the nurse practitioner here. What we're going to do is to start you off for your first dive today is to take you back and get your vitals. Come on back. you go. I'll take you back to the vital station that's right here. So first thing we do when you come in is to take your vital signs, and that is your blood pressure, your pulse oximeter, which is your oxygen saturation, and your respiratory rate. And after that, we will walk you this way to check in your items, because we cannot take anything in the chamber besides the clothes you're wearing. So we will check every item, all your personal items, your electronic items into these bins, and they'll go in the lockers right there. And after that, you'll go into the loading room to wait for everybody else that are going to be in that dive, and everybody gets moved into the chamber all at the same time. Here at Exavita, one of the many conditions we treat is traumatic brain injury, which is concussions, mild all the way to severe. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy can help with traumatic brain injury by decreasing inflammation, by growing new blood vessels, which brings oxygen and nutrients to cells, and also by mobilizing stem cells from the bone marrow. These result in improvements in cognitive function, which includes memory and focus, concentration, improved sleep, also improvement in headaches, nausea, any symptoms that have resulted from neuroinflammation. Your first visit here starts off with a consultation with one of our providers. We will go over your medical history, your medications and supplement list, your symptoms, which are really your presenting complaints, and also your goals for hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Along with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, we also recommend IV therapy, pulse electromagnetic field therapy, and neurofeedback. We offer all these here at Exavita. To get more information, or to schedule a consultation, or to find out how you can donate to help veterans receive hyperbaric oxygen treatment, please go to our website.
Now I'd like to introduce you to, as I say, the real deal. Someone that has been through the trauma and has taken on the therapy and is a true American hero.
My name is Simon LeMay. I'm a Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps, served about 25 years.
When I met Simon during his first deployment, he was fun, he was full life, jokester, always taking care of his friends, just really fun to be around.
I have had an opportunity to deploy 8 times with combat.
And then around Christmas, that's when Sergeant Major got blown up and lost his legs. That was very traumatic for Simon. Simon was one of the guys who helped save him, put tourniquets on. They were doing their last change out, and Simon had to stay behind because he was now the acting first sergeant, and his best friend went out and stepped on an IED. When he came home after 2009, he was shut down. He shared things with me, but the life was gone. I mean, there was no more fun times or jokester or anything like that. He was inside himself.
Started having some issues with effects of IED exposure, concussion, headaches, that sort of stuff. Depression and anxiety took over pretty hard for me. What kind of led to me being where I'm at now is about a year ago, after dealing with some PTSD and TBI issues, I went to Laurel Ridge, which is a treatment center in San Antonio for some inpatient treatment. While I was there, I realized that I had some pretty significant effects from PTSD and TBI.
They tore his mind apart and then sent him home with no follow-up plan. And it just went downhill from there, and then his brother passed away, and I think that was the final straw. In October, he couldn't do anything. He just looked at me and said, "I'm done," and he moved out.
I was very fortunate to have a wife at the time that was able to help me through a time when I had prepared and planned and was ready to commit suicide. I think the depression, the anxiety that goes along with PTSD had really taken a hold of me. I think that the headaches were very, very debilitating for me as well. I still deal with the headaches on a regular basis. You have to put on a show. I mean, you cannot be in the position that I'm at and have been in the Marine Corps for as long as I have and allow those symptoms to overtake you. I also have, I have children, man. I have a daughter who will be 18 years old this year, and I can't let those symptoms override that because I've still got to be a father. For a while, I had to be a husband. My symptoms have now caused me to separate from my wife of 10 years. And I'm working to try and make those things better in my life as well. So when people say, hey, I never thought that you had those problems, it's pretty easy for me because I can put on a face and wear a mask to cover it up. But I'll also say that that mask is very tiring. Wearing that mask, it's very, very tiring. I think that goes back to a lot of the solitude, is not having to put that mask on and put on a show for people. When you're by yourself, you don't have to put on a mask. You can just be who you are. So the symptoms are debilitating. That has been really hard for me because that's not me. I'm a very social, outgoing, you know, I've always been, had friends and that sort of stuff around. But as my symptoms have progressed, I find myself in solitude a lot more. I think that really the biggest thing for me is that lack of happiness in my life. I really just want to be a normal guy with a smile on my face. And I think that those symptoms have really pressed me to a point. No homicidal thoughts, but I still deal with a very serious worthlessness. And maybe just to be able to smile again, like I said, and just be a normal guy. Those are the symptoms that really, really bother me the most. When it comes to hyperbaric chamber treatment, I was very fortunate to be able to be introduced to it very early in my symptoms from concussion. I have a friend who was part of a very serious IED explosion that we were both involved in 2007. He ended up at Fort Sam Houston in Texas, and he was exposed to hyperbaric chamber treatment probably 2009, 2010. While I was at Wounded Warrior Battalion, my aunt and uncle found out about some of the symptoms that I was having from PTSD, TBI, blast exposure, loss, kind of the whole deal that goes with depression and anxiety of PTSD. So through conversation, met a gentleman that was able to direct me, Rob Beckman, Jim Hooker were two gentlemen that I was able to meet over the phone that directed me into getting contact with Ex Divita, and kind of put me in a position to try and see if I can better myself a little bit and some of the effects of what I've gone through hyperbaric chamber treatment. I've had both knees redone. I have 4 levels fused in my neck. I have had my right shoulder rebuilt, and right now I've got some very severe back issues that I'm fixing to go to an orthopedic surgeon about. I will also have got a consult in for my left shoulder. So when you talk about debilitating issues and physical pains and those sort of things, I've dealt with them for a long time. But once again, I don't come into this with expectations because as soon as you expect something, then sometimes you can get let down. But I've read a lot of really great things, and I've had the opportunity to meet some people who've gone through the treatment who swear that it did some great things for them. So my expectations are take it one day at a time, try to get better, not only while I'm in the chamber, but also mentally for myself. So far I've done 21 dives. I do 5 a week, obviously, and then that 4 times 5 is 20, and then I had my first one on a Friday. I came in and did my initial dive, so total of 21 dives right now, and yeah, my aches and pains have really, really lessened, and that is abundantly clear at this point. What I'd like to say, though, is a lot of the problems that we have in life come from sleep. And I think the first thing that changed for me was the sleep patterns that I had. And if you're not sleeping well, obviously you're gonna ache and have a lot of problems, but my headaches are gone. I've a lot of experience with that. Big thing that I go back to is just the sleep. Just changes your whole life. And I will tell you for a fact that that was a direct result of being in the chamber. Big problem for me is the depression and anxiety that I deal with. And like I stated before, I just want to be happy, I want to smile. And I've caught myself a little more often being able to get out of that depression and that fog and be able to smile. I'm very hopeful, and I'm starting to feel the point to where I believe, I guess is the way to say it. I believe that this is going to help me in the long run. Since I've been doing the dives, I can do 2 dives in a day, and mid-afternoon when I come out of the second dive, I feel like I have so much energy and I feel so good, and that's really helped me a lot. And then also, you know, going back to the sleep. If you get that sleep, it helps you to be able to run through the day. So happier, getting out of that fog, the depression, and kind of being in a more realistic place. I think that this all is going to lead to, you know, as we talked about before, is I've got a lot of medications and stuff that I'm on, and I'm starting to get the confidence now to where it's almost time to get rid of the medications. So.
The first time I saw Simon after he started the Hyperbaric chamber, we were doing taxes, and we had a conversation, and he was clear. It was like you could see that he obviously thought he had self-worth again, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was between 20 and 30 when I started really, you know, started to feel the effects of the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I started realizing that that self-worthlessness that I had, kind of that every day wanting to push for the next day, kind of started dropping off, and I started realizing that I actually started feeling emotion and started looking forward to the next day. That worthlessness started going away, and I didn't feel that suicidal, you know, it had been a little while since I'd really had any type of suicidal ideation, but I really felt that worthlessness leaving. And that was a month into it. As I continued, it got better and better, and just an overall wellness was really what I'd say I felt. I started having, you know, less stomach issues. My mind was a lot clearer. I started feeling a lot better. And as I continued the treatment over the next, you know, several months, it just got better and better.
I was so excited because my faith in God, I prayed for Simon to find some kind of relief. We've tried everything. And to see him after he went, I had hope. Whether we got back together or not, I wanted him to be okay. And I saw there was hope. There was a change in him that was just unbelievable.
I really look forward to what comes of the next 20 dives, and then possibly some more dives after that. I think a big thing for me is being able to continue these dives and being able to share with others what it's done for me, so that we can get other people that need the help in here and get them some help too.
I would have to tell them, don't give up hope. This experience with Simon doing this treatment has just been amazing. We were really at rock bottom. I mean, we split up, we were at rock bottom, and he started this treatment while we were apart, and it's changed our whole lives. I'm so happy for the future. I mean, we've made so many plans, and I just can't wait to go. I know he's still got more to do, but there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
For a long time, I was lost, and I didn't have an out, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy gave me hope that there is a way out, and that there is a way out of the darkness to be able to live a life and be able to plan a future.
Now I'd like you to hear from the nonprofit that has been entrusted by the state of North Carolina with the money allocated to treat the soldiers with hyperbaric oxygen, and the energy that they're putting behind raising additional funding so that we can treat more and more soldiers.
The Community Foundation of NC East is truly honored to serve as the fiduciary organization to manage and oversee the HBOT therapy program for our veterans in Eastern North Carolina. Over the past 5 years, it has been my privilege to work alongside several incredibly passionate, diligent, and highly informed individuals whom have all invested a tremendous amount of time, effort, and financial resources to bring us to this moment of opportunity. And this opportunity will indeed result in life-saving change for many of our veterans whom we are forever indebted for their service and sacrifice for this great nation that we call home. We are extremely grateful that the North Carolina Senate Bill 442 has appropriated funding for hyperbaric oxygen therapy for North Carolina veterans suffering from traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. We are honored that the General Assembly, along with our governor, has entrusted those funds to the Community Foundation of NC East, and we will work diligently to get as many of our veterans into this program immediately as we can identify. If you are a family member, a friend, or an acquaintance of a veteran whom you know is suffering from traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of their time in combat, please don't wait another moment. Reach out to us immediately. Let us help provide them with life-saving and life-changing treatment right away. Please visit our website at www.hbotforvets.com or call us at 252-756-8549. Our veterans deserve nothing less than a happy and healthy quality of life in which they can live fully and love their families, whom they have sacrificed so much for. So help us give this to them today.
All too often the family is overlooked. And now let's hear from a spouse, someone who dealt with the demons that Simon brought home. And so we'll hear more from Kate so you get a deeper understanding of what the family deals with in these crises.
Originally joined the Navy in 1988 and went to Keflavik, Iceland as an RP, which is a religious program specialist. And then I got married, and upon that divorce, I re-enlisted back in the Marine Corps at the age of 27. There was just something about him. I honestly believe that God bumped us into each other. I saw this side of him that most people didn't see outside of the home. I used to call him my little chameleon. Faith was very important for me. That got me through this. I even told Simon at one point that I was so happy he left me because my job was very demanding. I was gone a lot. I worked a lot of hours. I didn't want to come home because I didn't know who I was coming home to. Was I coming home to the happy Simon? Was I coming home to the Simon who was intoxicated? Was I coming home to the Simon who was depressed and suicidal? And you walk on eggshells around that constantly. And we have done this at this point, we had already done this for about 10 years. So it was very taxing. When he left, I was like, I was doing all this for my family, but now I have no family. My husband's gone. I couldn't help him. I felt very, I guess, inadequate that, you get married, you're in a relationship and you think, oh, love solves everything and everything will be bliss. And it's not that way. You're two different people. You have two different backgrounds. You have two different experiences. As a family member, you're going to have to look also into yourself. Because until you understand yourself and what this issue is not only doing to the service member, but doing to the family, the children, the spouse, you're not going to be able to be beneficial to either one of you.
For family, what it really came back to is you're very isolated, alcohol, pills, depression, anxiety, you're quick to snap, you don't think things through, and you always kind of feel like crap.
I would learn that as I would continue to press, you need to go get treatment, you need to do this, you need to stop drinking, you need to get off the pills, you need just everything, was actually harder for him. Because in his depression and everything,
I was really at the bottom and wanted no help from anybody. I just wanted to wallow in my sorrow.
In a lot of those situations, it was always, it should have been me. And it was very hard for him to deal with that. It wasn't him, and he could not forgive himself that it wasn't him. And so I would constantly be telling him, it was not your time.
When we're that broken, and we have tried so many things for so many years, and there's so many people out there going through the same thing, that you get to a point to where you turn into yourself. You kind of turn into yourself, and you know it's you against the world, and you've got to deal with your own thing because nobody can help you. Nobody's there for you, nobody can help you. And I ended up in that position. There's people all over the place right now that are in the same position. Is when you feel like you're absolutely hopeless. Driving to New Bern as a sergeant major in a brand new truck, going across the bridge, and tenths of seconds away from driving myself off the bridge. Right before I started treatment, that's who I was.
When we got back together after separating, after the first incident of HBOT, first sessions of HBOT, it was funny because when I had said those things in the past, they were met with a brick wall. But as I was saying them now, they were resonating. He was clear, he wanted it, and I think he finally, for the first time, saw hope that, hey, this might not be the cure, but it's gonna get me my life back.
I felt confident through the hyperbarics. It started giving me that piece of worth that I needed to be able to go in the right direction. So I quit alcohol and I quit medication, and I started really kind of getting my life back, feeling what life was supposed to be before I'd started this whole thing. You just got to take a chance and invest in yourself a little bit. And I think by investing in yourself with hyperbarics, I think it's a big, big, big answer. But never give up. That's the biggest thing. I always know that there's people out there, just like me, I'll say it, that just love Marines and love soldiers and sailors, and coasties and all. I'll tell you, I love them and I know what they've been through, so I want to help them. And you can't give up. And hyperbarics really gave me my life back.
When people hear me and Simon's story about the separation, getting back together, it's very ironic, and people are like, I can't believe you guys went through all this and you're now sitting where you are 3 years later. HBOT has given us the stepping stones, I guess I can say, to continue on with our life in a normal setting. Yeah, it's a godsend. That's all I can say.
What an amazing story, and I hope you understand the severity of the problem and the opportunity for us to join together to help solve this problem. Simon and the treatments that he went through clearly had a major impact on rebuilding his family, bringing back hope and a future together. We're going to continue to follow and track Simon and his story. I'd like to get him back here in the studio where you can write in questions, type in, I guess we keyboard. Anyhow, we can get us some questions and get Simon to answer them firsthand, and we can delve into Simon's long-term recovery in a way that might impact you or that you'd be interested in. I'm Ed DiGirolamo, host of the HBOT News Network. I know that there are people suffering out there. I hope that you are compelled to join the conversation and learn about the value of hyperbaric oxygen and how it may help you or one of your loved ones. The HBOT News Network has come into existence so that we can interview doctors, scientists, experts from around the world that have spent their careers, decades, applying it, studying it, understanding it on basically every type of indication and every type of injury that there is. We're going to work through pulling apart these, bringing in some experts from around the world that have dedicated their lives to looking at the different issues to help cut through all of, this is a lot of reading, help cut through it so we can focus on something specific that you can read yourself. That's the basis for what we're doing here. The opportunity is that one day inflammation is going to kill us all. It's going to have a major role in that. So I believe that based on learning about inflammation and how you can stop inflammation, reduce inflammation, is going to get you to live longer. Join us and get your questions answered. Meet the international, experts from around the world, the scientists, individuals that have spent their lifetime focused on helping others and curing others. And understand that there is hope out there. Thank you.